Hi everybody, it's Professor Snart checking in. It's Wednesday, November 6th here. Kind of a chilly day, but at least the sun is out. So, quick look at our due dates and kind of time to take note that we are actually, not sure if it feels this way or not, getting really kind of close to the end of our course, especially if you figure that that whole Thanksgiving week is sort of a non-week a little bit. We really just have a few units left. So I'm going to actually go through all of them quickly here. I'll check back in for sure before our course is over, by all means. But some of this stuff is just good to have on your radar here. So we are just finishing up then Unit 9, where we were using the Padlet tool to sort of like respond to but extend the thinking of the various poets and poems projects that we worked on for Unit 8, or that we finalized in Unit 8. And I just glanced at it the other day, and it's looking really cool. The pictures that people posted, the connections people made, this is like exactly why we do it this way. Because you sort of extend your thinking about those projects, not just, yes, I learned some biographical detail or a fact or whatever, but there's like elements of your life, ooh, that's a creepy one, that you sort of like walk by every day, like some people have said, that connect with the work for school that folks have been doing. So just as I glanced through, there's been some really great like, what would you say, engagement with the various projects that people have posted. And again, I think like what I would call authentic engagement. Like this is a great one from Shane. What are the chances? Maybe really good in a poetry class. I don't know. Here's another really good one that Angela talks about. This statue that she walks by every day that now is like connected with the work that we're doing or that she's doing for the course, which I think is really cool. So anyway, really nice work here, and lots of people have been good about name really clear and post number, because as you can see, as people get in here, we already have a lot of projects posted, but now the sheer number of images really piles up too. So as I grade these, I really do just have to go by eye through most of and find people's posts. If you see that the grade that you got is like substantially lower than what you think it should have been, it's quite likely that maybe you didn't do the right number of posts, maybe you didn't attach your name to it, or truthfully, I just missed it. So if you think that's the case, just let me know and I'll go back in and see what I can see, because they're easy to miss the way that Padlet like shuffles them all over the place. Okay, so that's Unit 9, responding to our group projects. Unit 10 is one that's actually fairly simple to do, except it's one that you've hopefully been thinking about and attending to throughout our course. It's one that I've drawn your attention to almost from the very get-go, to be honest with you. But reporting out on a poetry event that you've attended. Again, I alerted folks really at the start of our class that this was happening, because these can be a little bit trickier to find than just like going to a movie at the local movie theater. So it takes some planning. So maybe you've already attended your event, maybe it was weeks ago, maybe it's still coming up, but hopefully before our deadline, obviously. And now you're just building out your portfolio page to report out on that event. Tell us what it was like, describe the venue, the attendees, the crowd. Was it big? Was it small? Was it kind of intimate? Was it more impersonal, like a bookstore reading type of thing versus a more like theatrical event? Hopefully you were able to get some pictures or documentation. Obviously in some event situations you're like literally not allowed to do that, but still maybe you had a ticket or a program, or there was advertising for it, kind of whatever, just to give us a real feel of the place. If you have a chance to talk with the performers, the poets, that's really cool too, to find out what things are like. It's almost always the case that people from our class have attended the same event, which is kind of cool. It's really great if you like recognize somebody, but that's harder to do given that we're not seeing each other face to face all the time. But that'll be interesting to discover as well. So with this one, we're going to respond to at least 4 other people. Again, kind of a lot, but a really good way of seeing what other work people are doing, but also learning about what other kinds of poetry events, especially if they tend to be like recurring ones, are out there in the world. A little bit like we've looked at before, that poetry in some ways, despite how like marginal and at the edges it seems in some ways, is really like it's all over the place if we just learn to look for it a little bit differently. So reporting out on the poetry event is Unit 10, and then that brings us into Unit 11, which actually brings us back to our projects. So now you are going to, each individual person will do this. We're not doing this as a group anymore. You are going to build a quiz. We're going to use Google Forms to do this, which is, if you've never used this tool before, it's really pretty cool for building things like quizzes, surveys. I use it in my personal life to like organize things almost as much as I use it professionally. If you've never done that kind of stuff before, there's some tutorial things kind of walking you through where to go, signing in, what buttons to click, how things will look. So factor in sort of your learning curve here if you've never done this before. This is one of those Google tools that's maybe not as common as like Google Docs or Slides, maybe a little bit foreign to people. So make sure you build in time to just learn and get your feet wet, so you're not like scrambling to like learn how to do this thing and do the actual assignment as well. So there's step-by-step kind of static images and instructions. There's also a video that I built. The Google Forms tool, it changes all the time, but it's not radically different, so you'll still kind of get the basic idea of how it works here. So I would watch this stuff or read through it first, especially if you've never done Google Forms before trying to jump in and do the assignment and learn the tool all at the same time. So you're basically building a quiz about your group, poet and poems project. So we're taking us back there. I'm going to link, I'll build this when I get a chance, link back to all that stuff so you'll have it, or we'll all have access to all of them a little bit quicker here, a little bit like I did with the Padlet, so that you're building your own quiz. Think about interesting questions to ask, but the major grade that you're getting, that I'm giving you here, is not so much for the questions, although there's some of that. It's really for what's the quality of the feedback that you've built into your quiz. And again, if you've never used the tool before, go through the tutorial below. You could even like Google just how to use Google Forms for building quizzes. There's lots of walkthroughs and how-tos. But one of the things that all of your questions has to have, whether I get a question right or wrong as the person taking your quiz, is ample, meaningful feedback. Not just, yep, you got it right, or nope, sorry. You have to provide some like analysis or why the question matters, or if I got it right, like how does this info connect with other aspects of the presentation or the person or the poem? If I got it wrong, what's the correct answer? And again, why does it matter? So there's a lot more than just building out like 5 or 10 questions to this assignment. It's really building out that ample feedback. That's what I'm looking for. So the other fun thing here is that in addition to building your quiz and then this feedback that's primarily what I'm grading on, you are also going to take 2 other quizzes. So the quiz will generate points if it's been set up correctly by the person who built it, but it's just for fun. It's not points that I record. It's really just another way of us thinking more deeply about our own projects by having you build your own quiz, but also getting to engage with the projects again, other projects again, by taking other quizzes. You're going to use the reply function here in the discussion board to like reply to the people whose quizzes you've done. Again, did you learn something? Did you learn something that you missed the first time? Did you really like the questions? Whatever that format takes. Otherwise, you are, again, as usual, posting your own form. So that's kind of like your own quiz using forms as your initial post, and then doing your reply. So again, you're going to have a total of 3, that initial one, the replies after you've taken the quizzes. Again, just to be clear, the quiz you take might generate points for you. You get 1,000 out of 1,000 or 5 out of 10, whatever. Not points that I record. It's really just for the fun of engaging with the projects again. Your grade from me is almost 100%, maybe not quite, but very close. Is the feedback that you build into your quiz ample, meaningful? Does it help me learn something new? And even if I got a question right, does it help me understand how that particular piece of information is important or connects with, the larger sort of context that you're laying out for the poet and the poems that you talked about. Okay, so again, kind of a creative way of re-engaging with our project here for Unit 12, and that, or sorry, Unit 11. That takes us to Unit 12, which is our last one. A few weeks away, talking about a much later due date here, but let's take a quick look. A final quick survey, anonymous, ungraded, just for me to get some feedback. Take you a couple minutes. So a final reflection, a fairly traditional thing. We've actually done this once before in our class. Looking at all of our course objectives and you providing at least two particular examples of your particular work. So again, almost quoting yourself and explaining in a really full and concrete way how you have achieved all of the course objectives for our class in the actual work that you've done. Not just the assignment that I assigned, but the actual work that you produced for that assignment. And again, connect those dots really, really carefully for me. Ample explanation, ample description of why your evidence works as evidence for whatever particular course objective you're talking about. So again, building this out on our final portfolio page. You could, if you want, do this in a Google Doc or Google Slide and just embed that, but make sure you're finalizing your portfolio, posting it here. There's one last question that I'm asking as part of this, again, built into your portfolio. What is something that you accomplished that is not really identified as a course objective? So you don't want to say like, oh, I really feel like I surveyed and studied a wide range of poems. Yeah, we did that, but it's also a course objective already. So be careful that you don't inadvertently repeat a course objective, even if you're changing the words. Is like the fundamental idea still basically the same? But what's something else that you feel like you did that's really not laid out in our course objectives? Tell me that in a paragraph or two, and again, the more concrete and specific you can be, the better. Hit that publish button for the last time here to update your portfolio, post the link in our final reflection discussion board, and then I'm going to ask you to read through and reply to 4. More than our normal 2. We've done 4 a few times before, but a really nice way to kind of wrap up our course by having everybody look at a bunch of other examples of what do these objectives mean to people, how did people achieve them, and to get a really interesting broad sense of what sort of other things people felt like they were taking out of the course that are maybe not so explicitly stated here. Okay? So that takes us all the way to the end, which is probably closer than it might feel right now, honestly. So we look at our Unit 9 due date, which is today as I'm recording this, Wednesday, November 6th. We get into our reporting out on a poetry event. Largely this work has hopefully already been done. You're not scrambling to find something at this point, since I've been pointing to this early on. Returning a little bit to our projects by building out quizzes, then we get a nice break. And then we come back with our final assignment, again posting final work by December 4th, and then replies by December 6th. So really just a couple weeks away, again factoring in that this is kind of like a non-week as far as our class and work goes, so really not that much time left in our class. Hopefully good news for you. You know, it's nice to see these things come to an end, but maybe some sad news as well, because it's been fun. But still lots to do, so don't sort of lose track of things as we finish up. If you have questions or concerns, by all means, as always, be in touch with me. And even though I've walked us through really quickly kind of like everything that's left, I'll certainly be checking back in on a regular basis just to help everyone stay on track.